Podcast starting soon. 4, 3, 2, 1.
We're live.
Let's do this.
Good
Say
stuff.
something.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome back to Jargon. We're here as usual every Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time.
That's right.
And today, as usual, we're going to talk about technology news and all the goings on of the tech world. Well, before that, we have any random banter?
Random banter.
Yeah, you fell off a roof.
I did.
Talk about your roof fallings.
So, well, I fell off. I fell off parts that built a roof, technically. So I fell off of the rafters for a barn. It was about a 20-foot fall.
Nothing broken
Um,
though, right?
no, nothing broken. Just lots of bruising and stoving. Luckily, it was actually kind of crazy because like what happened was is we were using the wall to move the rafters into position so a crane could pick them up and we could set them on the barn.
Okay.
And as we would set them down at the wall, they were hooked on with like large straps with hooks on them, you know. And me and a coworker would we would like after the rafters were set down and leaned up against the exterior walls, we would climb on top of them because they were in bunks, so it was about 2 foot wide total, and we'd walk up the bunks, unhook the straps, and then walk back down them and hop off and go set the next set.
Makes sense?
And what happened was is we had set it down. Uh, my coworker and I climbed to the top, and the outrigger, which an outrigger is like the on heavy equipment, the legs that like the hydraulic legs that come down and like pick the wheels up for
Yeah.
stability. That's the outrigger.
Okay.
And the outrigger caught on the bottom side of the rafter. And after we unhooked the straps, that outrigger caught it when my boss went to back up, and it knocked the rafters over while we were on top of them.
That's rough. That's a really bad chain of events. I'm really
Yeah.
surprised you're not shattered.
I-
Everything from the waist down. I'm really surprised it's not ripped apart.
yeah.
Good job
See,
being resilient.
well, not only was it resilience, like I got lucky, really lucky, because the concrete company had just poured concrete the day before, like where I landed. I landed in like a 2 foot wide gravel pit just before like all of the standing rebar for a concrete wall and the concrete pad under the footer.
Yeah, man, you're insanely lucky.
So I managed to somehow land in the gravel, which I'm not going to say it was a soft landing, but a lot softer than concrete.
True. Yeah, it
uh,
got to disperse a little bit.
um, but
I'm a little
I'm
quiet, Katie. I will turn myself up a little bit.
I'm alive. Just some bruising, stoving, walking sucks, but other than that, I'm perfectly healthy. So
Good. Good. Very glad to hear that. It's good to have you with me today. Um,
I'm glad to be here.
I want to thank Katie in the Facebook Live comments for I was a little quiet. Hopefully, I am a little less quiet now. I've turned my volume up and I've also turned my tone up as well. So if you don't mind, I will speak a little bit louder throughout this today, and I will check back on the comments momentarily to see if it has improved.
I'm gonna go
But
ahead and put my glasses on so I can read. Ah, yes,
yeah,
there we go.
well, starting off today, I guess I'll get us started with the OnePlus 5 story. So the company OnePlus, if you don't know what they are or who they are, it's kind of a small company startup. They're only a few years old, um, out of China that has a goal to never settle. That's their tagline. So basically, they deal very well with high performance, just crazy performance components at lower prices. And when I say lower prices, I mean lower than, say, flagship products like the Samsung Galaxy S line and the iPhone main lineup. But traditionally they've put forward very good components internally, and I actually have one here. This is the OnePlus 3T. It's my current daily driver phone. It is the predecessor now to the OnePlus 5. So going into the specs of the OnePlus 5, it features a Snapdragon 835 system on a chip, a 5.5-inch 1080p display, which is the same as the OnePlus 3T, and something that has really set OnePlus apart from other manufacturers is the amount of RAM. So the entry level is 64 gigs of storage and 6 gigabytes of RAM. That's on the entry level model. There is a higher end version available with 128 gigs of SSD and 8 gigs of RAM in a phone. That is DDR4, by the way. Mine only has 6 gigs, but that is it's a stupid amount of RAM.
It really is.
I mean, none of my apps, like I can just go through my apps here. All of these, all of these are still in memory, and it could fit a whole lot more. And
Never have to worry about your Clash of Clans running out, huh?
nope, nope.
I've actually been playing Mobile Strike like it's video game Jesus lately.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I never really got into those mobile RPGs, but the OnePlus 5 does include a few new specs and I guess bumps. Um, that's a double entendre. So the first one is includes dual cameras. So the OnePlus 3T currently has a 16 megapixel rear camera and a 16 megapixel front camera. It shoots 4K video and 1080p at 60 FPS. But the new one, the OnePlus 5, includes two cameras on the backside. One is a 20 megapixel camera, and one is a 16 megapixel camera. So they're basically just copying the iPhone 7 in terms of the rear camera setup. Unfortunately, that's kind of where the good news ends. It looks like the company actually cheated on their benchmarks again. No,
Again.
they cheated with this one too. Now, to be fair, it is still the fastest phone in the world. And until the Galaxy S8 was released, this was the fastest phone in the world. It beat out the S7, very, very slightly. Unfortunately, whenever the OnePlus 5 detects a benchmark application started to run, it pegs all the processors at 100%. It doesn't actually throttle down at all. It just goes 100, straight 100 the entire time. And that's kind of cheating. Not really a cool thing to do. Unfortunately, most manufacturers do this. It's not really a new thing, but it is unfortunate that OnePlus is kind of jumping on the bandwagon of cheating in benchmarks.
That's a shame.
It really is because it's a great phone. It starts at $479, which is like half the price of a Pixel, or half the price of a souped-up S8. And I think mine was $439. So it is a little more expensive this year around, but it's still the best cheap phone you can buy, if that makes sense.
Mm.
I guess I have a complaint though about the benchmarks in general. Why do we even care anymore? I mean, I listed the specs of the OnePlus 5. I listed some of the specs of my current OnePlus 3T. These phones are way too fast for the average person. Like even as myself, a power user, I like to consider myself a power user. I do so much stuff all the time on my phone. I can't break the thing. I never
So,
yeah, I never notice any lag in games. I never notice the camera lag is pretty much non-existent. So when we're talking about phones at this tier or higher, we don't really even need benchmarks anymore because we know they're going to be fantastic.
all right, I have something that I can add to that. All right.
Sure.
So, I actually appreciate benchmarks on phones.
Okay.
Like, which is kind of shocking because you know me, I honestly don't give a shit about phones. Like, if I can make calls and send text messages, I'm generally all right. The occasional, mobile game, but
Sure.
like I use the ZTE Max XL, and like it's not the most powerful phone out there, but like 6-inch screen, you know, octa-core 1.4 gigahertz processor. You know, it's not a bad phone. It's really not. I'm looking over the specs list here because I don't have it in front of me. Um, but some games, like I notice a little bit of lag in some of the games I play,
Okay.
and like, holy crap, does it annoy me?
I
So
guess we're talking about different price brackets though, because how much was the phone?
mine actually was stupid cheap. It was like $140.
Okay. See, I guess I'm thinking about like the $400 plus range for the benchmarks, because generally if you're buying like a OnePlus phone or say the HTC U11 or again Samsung flagship phone, they're all going to be using the fastest, most up to date processor. For instance, the Snapdragon 835. They're all going to have multiple gigabytes of RAM, and they're all going to be very competent. So if you know you're getting a high end phone, do you need to worry about the specs and the benchmarks? I guess that's
um,
my point. The specs are
I
good because you need to know what you're getting, but do you need to know the like 2 point Geekbench difference between the OnePlus 5 and the Samsung Galaxy S8 Edge? You know?
I'm guessing most of it is really breaking down to it allows people to see like performance per dollar.
Okay.
You know, it's the same thing if you're buying a graphics card or a processor, like for a desktop or your laptop. If both of the phones I'm looking at are $500, let's say, and one's slightly outperforming the other, I'm going to get the more powerful one. But I wouldn't really know
That's
that
fair.
without the benchmarks.
That's fair.
So,
Well, maybe it'll be less relevant in the future, as newer chips come out that support. I know the Snapdragon 835 specifically supports gigabit LTE, but maybe once we're fully in that, 1 gigabit range for LTE, and just super super high end chips on most of the mid range too, maybe it'll be less relevant. But I feel like like this year moving forward, benchmarks on high end phones will just be irrelevant.
yeah, I can see it. I can see it.
Okay.
Um,
Well, that's pretty much all I had for the OnePlus 5. Again, very, very good specs, but personally, I'm not going to upgrade. I could just sell this one, throw a few bucks in extra and get the OnePlus 5, but I don't feel the need. The
it's
camera's great, and the specs are awesome.
It's one of those things too. It's like the people that go out and they buy the newest iPhone, the day it releases. If your phone does everything you want it to do, what's the point in spending the money on the next model?
Exactly,
Wait,
and with
wait until it's time to upgrade.
right, and with the iPhone, I can see maybe upgrading every year, simply because Apple does push new features, right? Like, uh, I guess that's a pretty poor example
Most,
because the same features I'm thinking of are also the same features that are released with the OnePlus 5. But
well,
let's say with Touch ID, for example, so the fingerprint reader on the iPhone, this one is extremely fast. Like, I don't need to upgrade that. But on the iPhone 6, it was a little slow. The 6S, it was kind of sluggish. The iPhone 7 increased the speed of the fingerprint reader significantly, but I just don't see any reason to upgrade, even for a really busy user on a OnePlus 3T. The USB Type C port is still 2.0 on both
I,
phones.
I think a lot of it breaks down to most people just upgrade so they can brag. It's bragging rights.
Fair enough.
It's Like honestly, it's kind of like my PC. Like I have an 8-core processor and a GTX 1080. Is that required to game at max settings?
Yes.
No. No.
Yes.
Not at all.
Yes.
But I have it anyway because I like to brag about it.
Fair enough.
um so
Speaking of
anything
AMD
else?
processors,
Oh, yeah. All right.
take away.
We can take a look at the Epic lineup. So Epic is the new server processors. They're based off of the Zen architecture or Naples, which is kind of the redesign of the Zen architecture that was used for Ryzen for server-based applications. And we're talking some insane stuff here.
I have the specs list. I'll pull it up now.
All right. So 9 different models total. Lowest end being an 8-core 16 thread, just like the Ryzen 7 lineup. Clear up the 32-core 64 thread. 180 watt max TDP on the 32-core 64 thread models. 8 channels for DDR4 memory at 2666. Like
I
that's
don't think we've seen that from anyone yet, have we?
no,
Intel
this is
doesn't
the
have an
first.
eight-channel lineup yet.
No, the Xeons are still 4.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is insane. 128 PCIe lanes per processor.
And most boards will be coming with at least 2 sockets for processors.
Yeah.
So 256 lanes for PCIe. That's
And
insane.
it's somewhere in the source too. I didn't make a note of it, but apparently they're with the Epic lineup, you're going to be able to disable or enable more or less PCI lanes to shift DDR4 channel lineups, like DIMM channel lineups, to increase RAM capacity or increase PCI lane capacity.
That's really interesting. So you could
Um,
potentially go down to say 4 channels, um, and boost like the lanes, like the speed of the lanes potentially, right?
yeah.
That's really cool.
Another really cool thing is the fact that the Epic processors are built with the same thing we saw in the Ryzen lineup. So the Infinity Fabric,
Yeah, I see that here.
which Infinity Fabric, if you guys don't know about it, like AMD has like this is insane technology. So Infinity Fabric is it bases itself off of your RAM, but it's kind of like the hyper-threading in Intel. It's what allows the cores to speak to each other insanely fast.
Right.
But it's actually separate in the AMD systems than the threads. So the Infinity Fabric lays along with your thread count. So there's 2 threads per core plus the Infinity Fabric communication line, which is insanely faster than the threads. And
And
with
this is
the
going to be on their server-side components as well, it seems.
yes, but with the Infinity Fabric linking off of the RAM, so if let's say you have a dual socket server, right? When you drop both of your EPYC processors in there, because of the Infinity Fabric speaking over the RAM based off of RAM speed, it will be able to register as if it was one 64 core 128 thread CPU and communicate instantaneously between the two. Like, holy freaking cow.
Yeah, that's really cool. The
um, uh,
so the bandwidth between the cores is as much as dual channel DDR4 RAM.
yeah.
That's each link.
um,
That's crazy.
and Threadripper is going to carry the same technology.
That's good. They need to put this on all their.
And I've seen some rumored stuff. We don't normally talk about rumors, but I have
Try to
seen
shy
some
away from it.
stuff that's showing that some of the manufacturers, motherboard manufacturers, are going to be building like dual socket enthusiast grade Threadripper motherboards.
Oh, that's insane.
So we're going to be able to build 32 core 64 thread
Desktops.
Threadripper desktops for your just standard consumer use.
And now, to be fair, you could throw an Epic in a desktop. I mean,
Yes.
server is a computer, so if you get a large enough case, to fit one of these possibly eATX motherboards, extended ATX, with dual sockets, people do it with Intel now. Like again, Mac Pro, Xeons. We will probably see something like this in the future from say HP and even Dell and their Precision lineup. They're going to be
Yeah.
offering epic inside a workstation.
I'm actually super excited to see what Dell does to the XPS lineup
Oh
for
yeah,
with Threadripper, because Dell builds the XPS systems. They're very powerful for a good price. Honestly, for an OEM PC, they're reasonably priced for enthusiast grade machines.
correct.
I'm just really excited to see what they do with Threadripper.
Yeah, and honestly, the server market isn't really as concerned with price to performance as say us enthusiasts and just random gamers, but it is still important. So I'm really interested to see what price point these chips come in at because high end Xeons can be thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for a chip. And if you have a dual socket motherboard and you need like 6 servers, that's 12 chips, it can get pricey.
Yeah, they can get very pricey. So, um, well, actually, just to throw that out there, like an example, look at the new i9 lineup. They're cut down Xeons. That's all they are.
Essentially, yes.
And look at their price tags.
They're very pricey. Very,
Yeah.
very pricey.
So, but yeah, that's really what all I got for the Epic lineup. It's going to be an insane release. Actually, AMD shared a Facebook uh picture or something the other day where they were showing some of their pre-built deep learning stuff, where they were showing some of the early access Epic 32 core 64 thread processors alongside like three of the Vega like deep learning cards like pre-laid out in like rack mount servers, and it was really awesome.
I wonder how many teraflops each one of those PCs pulls.
They were actually they said it in their post. I'd have to find the post, but they did say it in there, and it was an insane number.
I bet it was. Those those chips and those cards are no slouches. Even though we don't have full numbers on their performance yet, I can only imagine they are, up there with supercomputers at this point.
Silicon is actually we're at the end, in my opinion. Like I don't know how much further we're going to be able to push silicon.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a law for that. Hmm.
There's got to be somewhere.
Hmm. All right.
But
Well, moving on to the next story here. It looks like somebody at Microsoft accidentally leaked a whole bunch of data. And by a whole bunch, I mean 32 terabytes of data. 32 terabytes of data. Here's the story from NeoWin. Internal builds and source code for Windows 10 allegedly revealed in a massive 32 terabyte leak. This one has an update. So basically what happened was there's a website called, oh, where is it? Where is it? I think it's Beta Archive. Um, it's exactly what it sounds like. They archive like the beta ISO images for versions of Windows and other software. And they just keep it around, for the copyrights to expire and people just to have fun with it. Well, it looks like somebody leaked a whole bunch of data to them, and there was an 8 terabyte compressed file
that's right. That's right, Clint.
that contained 32 terabytes of internal builds for Windows 10 and Windows Server 2016. So, according to this article, it included hardware drivers, plug-and-play code, USB Wi-Fi stack, storage drivers, and ARM-specific one-core kernel code. So, basically, if you're not familiar with that,
I'm sorry. This is just hilarious.
okay, I'm sure we have some comments going on, don't we?
No, not the comments. It just me personally, I'm laughing like at the mistake itself. Like that's a hell of a mistake.
Gotcha.
Like,
Yeah, it's a huge mistake. Let's not downplay it. I mean, it's terrible. It's really terrible. The one core thing I mentioned though is Microsoft is planning to bring Windows 10, the full Windows 10 operating system, to ARM chips, so to smartphones and to tablets, just like the One Plus 5. It was shown. I think it was at the Build event. Uh, Windows was shown running on the Snapdragon 835, which is included in the OnePlus, as well as the Galaxy S8. So basically, the entire emulator leaked. The blueprints for it. Um, I can just imagine what hackers are going to be doing with this information.
Not not anything good.
No, nothing good at all. And according to the update, the Register has claimed that the beta archive is removing the confidential Microsoft files found on its servers, citing the apparent removal of the shared source kit as an example. So that's just a tweet. And it looks like an administrator at the beta archive has commented on the story, saying that the folder did exist but has been removed for further review.
Huh.
Microsoft also released a statement. I'm just going to read that. Our review confirms that these files are actually a portion of the source code from the Shared Source Initiative and is used by OEMs and partners. So it looks like there's more information developing on this as we talk about it. So definitely keep an eye on that throughout the week and see if anything changes.
Yes, most definitely. We'll post some updates if we think that there's something worth commenting on throughout the week.
Yeah, but if we don't, install your updates, guys.
Always install your updates,
I know we went
guys.
through this previously with the whole WannaCrypt thing, but just install your updates. You might be okay.
Like, don't be silly. Install your updates.
Yeah.
It's
End of conversation.
Yeah. So, anything else you want to comment on in there? Like, I laughed through the whole thing because I think personally it sucks, but it's like how. That's what I'm laughing at is more. It's not really that it happened. It's like how did you mess up that bad?
I guess that's one question I have too. How do you rip an 8 terabyte file, right? How do you get an 8 terabyte file on the beta archive without anyone noticing? Because it was 8 terabytes compressed, right?
Yeah.
So do you have are you a beta archive administrator? It really makes me question who did this because, one, to get that kind of information, you have to be internal. You have to walk out with basically a Synology or some kind of NAS device to get that kind of information. Two, you have to either know somebody or work at Beta Archive, keeping them afloat in order to get this kind of data on their servers without them noticing. So
So, oh, go ahead.
I don't mean to bring up conspiracy theories, but maybe someone is in cahoots with someone there.
See, I was just
Because
thinking the exact same
yeah,
thing.
because 8 terabytes doesn't just whoop, show up.
As
It doesn't work like
Clint
that.
as Clint just stated, you very carefully get that
Yeah.
there.
So so instead of a leak, it's more like a drip, right?
um, so, and I just want to address a comment by Mike. So, Mike said that he saw on a TV show that somebody built an insane liquid cooled PC using car radiators and actual antifreeze. And the only comment I want to make on that is like it's possible, but be very wary because uh, PPG is
That's a
in antifreeze,
yeah,
and it's
and PPG can
also
break down the tubing that you use to cool the
exactly
computer.
so. Most liquid cooling lines, soft tubing and hard tubing, are made with PPG. A lot of the fittings and pump parts are made with PPG plastic,
Hmm.
and with PPG being in car like a vehicle's antifreeze and in the hardline tubing, it will cause them to bond and will break down your tubing rather quickly,
Yeah, it's a
and
chemical
you'll
reaction
get
that'll
leaks.
basically it'll turn into gel on the inside.
So if it doesn't gum up the your radiators and your pumps, destroying those first, it's going to spring leaks around fittings and destroy the rest of your equipment.
Right. Zach and I
So
both run water cooling loops in our computers. Both of our main computers are water cooled. Mine is just an off the shelf kit because I didn't have time or the money to do anything else. And it's probably just running distilled water with a couple of additives. What are you running in your loop right now, Zach?
My loop, I'm running some like uh, it's an EK based pastel um, with like the added inhibitors and stuff like that, just mixed with DI.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, you probably don't want to go with anything crazy. It really depends. I mean, it's a chemical reaction between the tubing, the material that you're building the piping out of, and the solvents potentially that are in your liquid. So stick with distilled water.
So that's another thing. Speaking of liquid cooling, always check your metals.
Oh yeah,
Just throwing that
definitely.
out there. So
Definitely want to check for bad mixes.
yeah, do not mix metals. Like I don't care if people say it's safe, it's not.
No,
Like
if you have
some
aluminum,
are
stick with
safer.
aluminum. If you have brass, stick with brass. If you have
If you're
nickel plated stuff, stick with nickel plated stuff.
if it's copper, stick with copper.
Yeah.
Make sure all of your stuff's the same, including your fittings. Like
Hmm.
the fittings don't normally touch the liquid, but there's a chance that they might at one point in time. And if it happens once, it will happen again because the moment there's a small hole in any seal, it will just expand over time. It'll never close itself back up.
Exactly. Well, now that we've addressed that, do you want to take the next story?
Yeah, definitely. So, all right, this one's actually really cool and it's got me super excited. Sega is has launched just recently uh, something they're calling Sega Forever. So Sega Forever is going to be a 100% free application for iOS and Android users that will allow you to play classic Sega titles.
Are we talking
Um,
like Sonic the Hedgehog, Kid Chameleon, Fantasy Star 2?
yeah.
Oldies. Good
So
game.
Sega is actually planning on doing a release schedule to where they're going to release 5 to 10 games at a time in increments that I'm not sure of yet. Um, starting at the SG 1000 Mark One era, so the games that we just talked about, clear up into the Dreamcast.
Awesome.
So um, if people don't understand what that means every console Sega ever made.
I'm really excited to get my hands on a few cool games like the old X-Men game
Oh man. See,
and Animaniacs.
what really threw me
They
off.
did it
I've
all.
talked about it. I've talked about it a couple times in stream, but there's this old game that Sega made for the Dreamcast, and you're like an alien vehicle, and you would blow up other alien vehicles on different worlds, and then like scavenge them for parts to build your vehicle better. And I can never
Hmm.
remember the name of it, and I can never Google search it properly enough to find the name to it. And like I'm just sitting here waiting for it to release or with Sega Forever.
Once you see that name, you'll know, and it's yours, right?
It'll just click and nobody will ever hear from me again because I'll lock myself in a dark room somewhere and just play.
Sounds good to
But
me. I have the article. Do you want me to pull it up?
if you wish, the only other thing really to talk about is there is an optional fee. You can pay $2 and remove ads forever. So
Yeah, it looks like that here. Um, and it looks like there's also a leaderboard too.
oh yes,
This
there
allows
is going to be
players
a leaderboard.
to truly measure and compare their skills with everyone worldwide. The only optional fee present is that $1.99 Zach mentioned. We remove all advertising forever within the app.
So we actually a few weeks back talked about um oh what was that program called? Oh shoot. There's an app that's going to like you can install on your Xbox, PlayStation. They're hoping to make it available for the Nintendo Switch that allows you to play Android and iOS games on those devices.
I remember us talking about that.
Uh, there was also one where it was going to allow you to stream your PC. Like the same program allowed you to stream your PC games to your
I remember
portable
now.
devices. I can't remember the
I'll
name of it though.
have to go back in the archive, but I
Yeah.
know what you're talking about.
So if we were to use that software, you'd be able to like do the Sega Forever stuff like on like your Nintendo Switch and have it with you everywhere you went. So you'd actually have like the Joy Cons with the controls and whatnot. You could get the physical buttons.
That's nice.
So that would be freaking awesome.
Oh, nice.
Like
Ooh,
now
or
I'm even more excited.
you could install Android on a Raspberry Pi, right? And you could hook up like an Xbox controller or just the OG Sega controllers to it with USB, and then you could just have a console.
So say then again, what was that? We just talked about it as one of the Father's Day gifts.
Yeah, we
There were
did.
those little game boxes that you can buy that actually hook up to the controllers and you can just plug the games themselves into it. But then again, it's not free.
It's a good time to be a retro gamer, though. You can
Yeah.
pretty much play any game you want, however you want.
Right.
Nice.
So I think that pretty much wraps up the Sega Forever thing. I'm just super excited for it. So
Should
let's
be.
what do we got here? So it looks like some Windows 10 stuff.
Yeah, I actually have a demo. So, Microsoft released a new build of Windows 10 for
So
insiders. The build number is 16226, and I have a copy of it in remote desktop right now. So let me switch over to that. Oh, bam! And we're in Windows 10. So various UI elements, user interface elements, have been updated to be a little more transparent. So let me get just a random window open here so we can see it. We'll leave that there. And if we open the start menu, it is ever so slightly more transparent. Not a whole lot, but elements are fully transparent now. Cool. Also the Action Center. Let me move this over there. Slightly more transparent so you can kind of see the frame of the window behind it. There's a new share option in File Explorer, so if I navigate to one of my network drives here, file server, do one of the files for this project. Here's something. If I right click on this and choose share, this works on any file in File Explorer, by the way. Choose share, this new dialog comes up, and you can either email it to popular recipients, you can send it to Cortana. Microsoft doesn't quite know what this app is named yet, but that's a placeholder apparently.
quick interjection.
Sure.
Forever, not just until they forget you paid the $2 or you forget. All right. I just wanted to clear that up. Like forever, you freaking troll.
Oh, was there something going on in the comments?
Yes.
Okay.
And Subterranea was not the game I was thinking of. Thank you though.
As always.
And the Hyperkin was the console.
Update after update after update.
Thank you.
So, yeah, there's the share dialog. It's not too crazy, but you are able to, say, post this into OneNote. You could share it with people through Dropbox. And that is just a PNG file. Let's see if we have any different options. Nope, not really. Another new feature is in Task Manager. This is great for gamers, by the way. There is now a GPU section. So previously, under the Performance tab, we were able to, take a look at the CPU utilization, the memory utilization, and just see what resources of our system are being used and by what. So here's Ethernet, for example. Now, in Windows 10, there's a GPU section. So it can actually detect what is using the GPU, and I think I can trigger it by moving a window around a little bit. Yeah, there we go. You can see the bar actually increase as I move the window around because it's drawing more pixels. And if I stop, it should slow down considerably. Hey, a live demo that actually worked. Hey, it's working. Good job, Microsoft. I think we have a couple more things. The last thing I'm going to touch on today, though, is Calculator. It now has a currency converter in it. So, oh, more than currency, too. Look at that. Look at that. I just had currency in my notes, but let's do currency. So, We're converting United States dollars to euros. Let's do $10 to euros. That is 8.93.
Don't make us sad.
Nice and simple.
Their money's worth more than ours.
Eh, it is. You know how that works, though. Here, what about Egyptian pounds? Does that make you feel better?
I don't know. It hasn't popped up yet. The stream's lagging
Okay.
behind.
So 10 US dollars is equal to 180 Egyptian pounds.
Well, now I just need to know how much, a loaf of bread costs over there.
A Cortana. And of course, that doesn't work live.
Why wouldn't it?
It worked earlier just fine, but that's okay. Just for giggles, let's do areas. For 25 square meters to that is 169.0978 square feet. And that's pretty much it for Windows 10. We've got a few new coming, and of course these features will be available for the public later this year. And
All right.
I believe it's Creators Update 2.
So I'm addressing a comment again.
Okay.
All right. Stop paying premiums for online content access. Like,
I don't even
and
get a chance to see the comments while I'm doing demos. I want to see the comments.
Clint mentioned that he's paying $50 a year for Xbox Live. Stop paying premiums for online content access.
Here's
The
the thing.
Xbox doesn't even have any exclusives. Like,
So
come on.
if you spend what $300 to $400 for a new Xbox, not talking like the One S. I know it's like $250. Okay, let's say $250. Fine. After how many years does it take to pay off the cost of a $500 PC? You build a decent gaming PC for $500, right?
Yeah, if you're talking strictly just gaming, which would be similar to the Xbox experience, a Core i3, Core i5 area, like you don't need any of the enthusiast grade stuff. You don't need K variants, so that'll save money. So we could talk like a Z170 board with an i5, like a
I wouldn't
6500.
even go i5, Zach. I go i3.
Yeah, go with the i3. $100 roughly there. You're
Yeah.
talking like $70 into a motherboard. Snag 16 gigs of RAM, a cheap SSD, a standard 1 TB
I
hard
wouldn't even do
drive.
16 gigs of RAM, man. Just 8 gigs of RAM and like a 1050.
Yeah, a 1050 Ti. Avoid the AMD cards at this point. Ethereum miners are assholes and they've ruined the
And
market.
there's
Um,
$500, and it's
and it's
talking
going to
a couple
game.
years worth of Xbox Live, right? And you get free gaming on PC
Yeah. And
with potentially better frame
plus,
rates and higher quality.
you open up Steam's indie market. There are so many good games on the indie market.
Just to address another comment from Clint, he said, "For playing with friends, I've already made on Xbox. It's not worth it." It could
Actually,
be soon.
so
It could be soon
yeah,
because a lot of at least first-party Microsoft titles are going to be released on Windows 10 and Xbox.
plus with Windows 10, you have access to your Xbox Live, so you can still communicate with all of your friends using, the Xbox Live interface, the Windows Marketplace.
That is correct.
Like, with the Xbox One X, like you were just saying, a lot of the servers are going to merge. We've already seen games that are starting it, like Rocket League. PC, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch are all going to
Minecraft.
share servers. Minecraft, as long as you're using the Windows 10
edition.
version, which is I believe that's written in C, right?
C++, yeah.
C++. So as long as you're using the C++ version of Minecraft, you will be able to play on servers between the Switch, the Xbox, and the PC. Sony's already stated they're not going to allow that to happen because they're assholes. Just frankly speaking. No offense to anybody named Frank.
It is what it is. If you want to play on console, that's fine. I'm not going to hold it against you. I just think that there are other avenues that you should look at.
And you might be a millionaire in Egypt. I'm not sure though. I don't know how much money is in your bank account,
Yeah,
and I don't want to know.
we never know.
Like, don't tell me. I don't care.
Uh,
Unless there's a lot, and then like, hey, brother, like, you making dinner tonight? Like,
for real.
I'm
So it
hungry.
looks like LG has made a giant bendy TV. Would you like to talk about that?
I would like to talk about that.
Okay.
So yeah, that's essentially what they did. If you open up the link here, there's a picture of their giant bendy TV.
And
So
here it is.
we're talking a 77-inch OLED 4K full 4K UHD panel and it's got 40% transparency, which will allow for some pretty cool applications. Which a lot of people know about OLED. Derek and I have talked about OLED applications a lot over the years we've known each other.
Yes.
um,
OLED is a fantastic display technology. It stands for Organic Light Emitting Diode. So it's very similar, to the LED display technologies that you're using on your monitor, on your phone, and your current TVs. And actually, most phones nowadays come with OLED. Mine, for example, is an AMOLED, AMOLED. So it's a more advanced technology than just OLED. But OLED displays can be extremely thin, extremely bright, have fantastic contrast, and very saturated colors.
and you
All
can
while
fold
being
them in half, stick them in your pocket, and
potentially, yeah, yeah, if they're designed properly.
so, um, which is another thing. Lenovo actually touched on an OLED uh, laptop that they're it was a concept design that they shared during a tech conference that like literally you'll just fold the screen around the laptop, like roll it up like a newspaper, and that's how you would store it.
Yeah, and that's really cool stuff.
But back to the giant TV, like
So this one, it looks like it's being used as a bench. Is
it
that what
was
I'm seeing here?
it was built into a desk, and I'm not sure what the specific applications of the desk was, but I think what like the primary use was to allow like it to be laid down, used as a standard desk, and then like you could fold the screen up out of it and like kind of do like 3D imaging, kind of like with 2D images. I'm not sure.
Well, that's neat,
Um,
isn't it?
it's pretty neat. um,
So it
like
looks like the original goal here was to make a 60-inch transparent OLED display by 2017, but LG surpassed that mark with a 77-inch.
Yep, decided to take it a little bit further just because they're LG, and that's what LG does.
Yeah.
They they build really crappy phones, but make everything else super awesome.
Yeah, their TVs are wonderful. I had one a few years back. It was a 3D TV, and it was just by far the best TV I had owned at that point.
They do make really nice TVs. I've never been a fan of LG's phones because they always like they're like super strong as soon as you get them, and then they just die at a faster rate than most of their phones I've owned.
Fortunately, Clint also did make a comment regarding the laptop that you mentioned. He said, personally, if I were able to like roll the screen back into the keyboard or something, that would be cool. And that's kind of what I've imagined, um, you know, phones and products of the future to be like. You would have, don't mind the random business card from another company here, but you would have like this area, which would be the keyboard or the containment device, basically, and you would be able to roll, the screen in and out like that. So you could just pull it out like this, do your stuff, and this would be very, very thin. Say maybe like an inch, and the OLED screen would just roll up on the inside, and you could just pull it back out. Uh, that's what I've kind of always imagined the future
Eh,
of devices to be like that.
The first image that popped in my head with like rolling the screen back into it is like the first thing that popped in my head's like the old typewriters where like I had like the little hand crank handle on the side for like rolling the paper into the feed.
That's a really good visualization of it, though, man. I mean, I can foresee us
But
carrying around like a tube the size of a pen or something, maybe just a bit thicker, and have a screen like kind of like parchment, right? Roll out from it. But once it reaches a certain length, it would like Batman's cape. I know that's a terrible analogy, um, but it would just static cling itself solid, right? So it's not rolled anymore, but you could just
Yeah.
hit a release and it would roll back inside.
So and that the reason why I kind of giggled there though was like in my mental image when I imagined the OLED screen with like the hand crank on the side, it still had like typewriter mechanical keys with the levers.
Oh,
So yeah. All right, my brain it's a different one, people. All right.
it always has been.
Yeah, it would have that retro look. Like that would actually be really cool
It
if
would look
you're into that sort
like
of
a
thing.
scroll in my eyes, anyway.
Yeah.
It would just be a scroll. You carry around a scroll with you that's electronic and does cool stuff, and you could play games on it.
The future is
Exactly,
now,
Mike.
people. The future is now.
I mean, it's cool enough that we can have the entire stored, accumulated knowledge of humanity in our pocket, right?
Yeah,
And also be
right?
able to play Candy Crush.
Everybody's got to play Candy Crush.
That's cool enough to me, but to be able to fold it up into a scroll that you can like slide in your pocket instead of a slab.
I would have to have like a felt pouch that I put it into, like some sort
Oh
of
yeah,
like medieval,
like a
squire.
coin purse, like a coin purse for it.
Yeah, but like you could like walk up, and like roll it out in public, be like, "Hear ye, hear ye."
I have a tweet for you here. Maybe capes will be cool again too. Maybe that's a little too optimistic.
That's a little too optimistic. Like I think trench coats will come back before capes do.
That's fine too. They're basically the same thing. Just cut the sleeves off.
Just not allowed to live near school.
Well, oh,
I'm sorry.
that's
I'm
messed up.
sorry.
Well, if you don't mind, sir, I'll go ahead and take the next story.
Go for it.
So, SpaceX has been doing crazy stuff lately. They had previously re-landed a used rocket. So they launched a rocket, Falcon 9. Then they landed it. Then they relaunched it. Then they landed it. First time it had ever been done.
First
They,
time ever that it has been done.
well, they just did it again. No big deal. Same rocket was reused a second time. So here's the story from The Verge. SpaceX successfully launches and lands a used rocket for the second time. Literally what I just said.
Yep.
So they've launched and landed a recycled Falcon 9 rocket for the second time. The rocket's first stage, a 14-story tall core that houses the fuel and the rocket's main engines, touched down on one of the company's autonomous drone ships in the Atlantic Ocean shortly after taking off from a launch pad in nearby Cape Canaveral. So, to me, here's the really cool part about SpaceX. They're launching recycled rockets that are landing on robot ships in the middle of the ocean.
Like this is Skynet, people. No, no,
No, this
no.
is.
Google built Skynet.
I think this is the epitome of the phrase "the future is now."
The
Because
future is now.
20 years ago, could we have even imagined this? We'd basically given up on the space race, right?
20 years ago, dude, people were talking about flat screen TVs, and everyone's like, "All right, listen here, you crazy SOB." Like,
Yeah, but the thing with space exploration at that time, 20 years ago or so, we hadn't sent a man to the moon in a while. My facts might be really off here, but I know there was a period of time where we just didn't care. Um, but now it
this
seems like
space race is really what like motivated, like space travel. Is like we got to be the first country to do it. And
that's right.
everybody was excited because of patriotism and stuff like that. The space race was like that great era, and then like once we won, everybody was just like, nobody cares.
Exactly. And I hate saying anything good came out of the Cold War, but I think that's one thing. The space race in particular motivated Americans specifically. I'm sure the same thing happened in Russia, but it motivated Americans to be more than what they could be. It gave people
Precisely.
hope. It gave people hope for the American dream that they could grow up to be an astronaut, or they could grow up to, do things with their lives that were actually impactful for society. And you're right, once we kind of got ahead in that whole thing, that motivation died down, it went away. And I really hope that we're going to see a resurgence in that. A resurgence in a wanting to do more with our lives. Just as a society, not as Americans, but as a civilization. We really need to look forward and just want to do more. We can't be complacent with our lives anymore. I know I'm getting really deep with this right now, but that's okay. Um,
Just don't get too deep here. We don't need to go swimming.
we're already waiting at this point, I guess. Um, yeah, I'll keep it short. We need people in scientific fields, STEM essentially, and I think
STEM.
this will help. There is a private space race happening right now between SpaceX. NASA's kind of private, kind of not, because they outsource a whole lot of their stuff. And there are a few other companies that are actually making progress, just like SpaceX. And hopefully, within the next few years, we will see kids growing up that want to be astronauts again, and that want to build rockets, and that want to make a difference.
like like honestly, one of the things that like has excited me the most, aside from SpaceX,
Hmm.
is the Hyperloop.
And it's funny
Like
because it's coming from the same guys.
it is. It's Elon Musk. Like we got, Tesla, SpaceX, oh geez, what other endeavors is that guy even in?
Solar
Uh,
City. Um,
well, Solar City is now actually Tesla. There was a takeover.
I'm still counting it. Also, the Boring Company. You know what the Boring Company is?
Nope.
So the Boring Company is not what it sounds, but exactly what it sounds like. So it's a company that basically just digs tunnels.
Oh,
Boring.
boring is like boring. Yeah, all right,
There
I
you
get you.
go. There you
I'm
go.
following along.
It's punny. Um,
It's
and
very
there may
funny.
be a connection between that and the Hyperloop. We'll just have to see. Um, but yeah, same guys doing the same stuff. We've talked about Elon Musk before on this stream.
So, I just want to refer to one of the comments again, Clint. um, so Katie and I were talking earlier in the car about how we're actually kind of excited and waiting for the day to where, the implants are normal. Like, because it is so inconvenient to have to like carry all this crap that you have to carry in your wallet, like debit cards and IDs and all. Like it would be so much more convenient if, like, let's say I got pulled over and the cop walks up and he just like scans your chip in your
Your
arm, and
NFC
he's
chip
like,
right here.
oh, he's like, I know that your driver's license is, valid and up to date. You have car insurance that's proper. Like, I can go to the store, and as I'm walking out, it's just a simple like run my hand over whatever they have there, and it, automatically just, you know, takes from the bank account, just speeds everything up. It'd be so convenient.
But Zach, with all that convenience comes privacy concern, right?
I have
Because
no
I could just
concerns.
decide to be a nefarious hacker one day, get out my NFC reader, and just shake a bunch of people's hands, and I would be loaded, right?
I guess if that's what you wanted to do, you jerk.
I'm not saying that I would do that. I'm not saying that I would do that at all.
Maybe that was my plan all along, and I'm just trying to justify the reasoning behind doing it.
Those meddling kids are gonna get you, and their dog too.
And their dog too. Justin Timberlake was in a movie like that. Now, what was the movie?
I vaguely remember that,
Son of a gun.
very vaguely.
The was it The Island? Was that him? No,
It was a
that's
film.
it was a film. I know it was a B film. It wasn't like a top release.
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
Either way, we have one more story, and we should cover it because it is now like 8 o'clock.
It is.
So, Nintendo Switch Update 3.0. Going to go over it quickly. Not everybody owns a Switch. Not everybody cares. But,
But those of you that do should.
tee.
Oh, I took the webcam off. Go for it again.
No! Tee.
There you go. You got your tee.
Tee. So, Update 3.0 added a lot of features and it updated a couple of problems. We're not really going to go over the problems that it fixed because they were minute and not really affecting a whole lot of people. They were actually like 1% problems.
Oh, really? That small of a percentage?
Well, I'm talking like the 1%.
Oh, okay.
Like, oh, my super high-end TV doesn't like to switch HDMI when the Switch is in sleep mode, but my normal non-smart TV will.
I gotcha.
Like, stupid stuff. But you can now register channels specifically to filter like specific game content. So if there's like a specific game like Breath of the Wild, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and you want to know like all the content for the new DLC packages that Nintendo's making for that game specifically, you can register channels to give you updates when when news about that content comes out. You can now add friends, like add friends to your Switch from 3DS and Wii U accounts. So you can go befriend all of your old friends again. Finally, that should have been something at launch. You can now get notifications when your friends come online, which is another thing that should have been there from launch, not version 3.0.
That should have been there in beta.
Like, another really cool thing is now you can make the Joy-Cons vibrate if you accidentally like misplaced it or something.
That is kind of cool.
So I can actually live demo that, kind of.
Sure. Let me bring up the webcam again.
So, all right, as you can see, I have removed one of the Joy-Cons, and the system is booting. I don't know why I said it that way.
We're doing it live.
Doing it live! So, when you access your main menu here, click on the controllers setting, and now there's an option. The second option here is Find Controllers. So you can hit that. And you can see right there by the grayed out one, it's saying, "Oh, that Joy-Con is missing."
Right.
And I can click on it and say, "Find it." Oh, it found it, and now it's vibrating.
Can you hold it up to the mic? Got it.
So
I could hear it anyway.
So it doesn't make like audible beeping noises or anything like that, but it does activate the vibrating feature, and it causes the like the battery indicator LEDs on the Joy-Con to light up and stuff to try to give visual notifications to like, I'm over here. You sat on me. I'm on the couch.
Really cool.
That's another thing that I honestly think should have been there from the beginning. But at the same time, like Joy-Cons are like $60 a piece. Like, why are you misplacing your Joy-Cons, bro?
For real. Keep them next to the Switch at all times.
Let's see here. What else do we got? You can now change the user icon order, which wasn't possible for some reason before. So, like, let's say you got the Switch in the living room, you got it in console mode, and your whole family's got an account, but you use it the most, right? But your account's like the fourth one in. You got to like scroll over to even log in and stuff like that.
And that's
you can now.
You would have been created fourth, right? So you created accounts for the kids and the significant other, but for some reason you created yours last because you're a selfless person, and
Exactly.
it doesn't really work with the family dynamic, right?
But now you're upset because you're like, man, I'm tired of having to scroll through all of you people to get to my stuff. And so you can now change like the location of your user icon so you can log in quicker or whatever.
Cool. Now, if Netflix could get that feature, that'd be nice too.
Yeah, Netflix.
I can edit my photo or my icon, but I can't change the position.
That's like my Netflix is the first one, and I didn't even set up the Netflix. Katie did, but mine's the first one. But I've never I don't think I've ever watched a single show off mine. We always just use Katie's. I
Gotcha.
let's see here. You can now set maximum volume for when headphones are plugged in. So
That's good for kids.
that's good for your ears.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah, but like seriously, the Switch previously on the previous version
Mhm.
would if you plugged in headphones, it remained at whatever volume you had the Switch at.
Oh, so if you had it like on your home theater system, like
Yeah, and you were
blasting, and you
yeah, you
plugged in
plugged
headphones, you could do some real damage to your earbuds or to
yep.
your
So
eardrums.
so now you can actually set what like a maximum volume to where as soon as headphones are plugged in, it automatically decreases volume to your maximum limit,
Very
and
cool.
it'll give you a warning if you try to go above that volume. Like, hey, you sure you want to go louder, buddy? Let's see here. You can invert or grayscale your menus, games, like and everything now for colorblind and light sensitivity.
Okay.
Um, that's actually pretty cool. I would live demo it, but the last time I tried that earlier just to get the hang of it, and I caught myself playing Breath of the Wild. So
Hopefully you wouldn't do that live.
I don't trust myself.
Okay.
Um, and you can also enable a deletion list. Essentially, it's like what is it? I'm looking for here. Man, my brain. You can set the switch to remember the applications that you're using. Archive. Got it.
That's a nice
you can
word.
you can set the switch to archive user data for like which apps and games and stuff that you play the most and how long you play them. So if you run low on space and you don't have enough space to install your new game, the Switch can give you a list of like stuff that you don't use often or haven't used in a long time,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and prioritize your deletion list to help you out. It'll be like, hey, you haven't played this game in a long time and you don't use this app very much. If you delete both of these, you can install your game.
Neat. That's
So
real handy. I wish Android had that.
Um, and there were a lot of other updates that came along with it that were, like I said, minor bug fixes and stuff like that. I didn't really see a whole lot of concern in those. I gave you guys the ones that I found the most important. So user mileage may vary.
Okay. But yeah, if anybody does have a Nintendo Switch, feel free to update. It should be available to the public
It's
all
available
around the
right now.
world.
Yep, it's available right now to anybody in the world.
Yeah, actually came out 5 days ago, so go update your Switch.
Go update your Switch, get all sorts of cool features and stuff.
All right.
Um,
Well,
and add me. I don't have any friends.
do you want to post your gamer tag in the is it called a gamer tag on Nintendo?
I think it's
Username?
just the username, your Nintendo username or something like
Okay.
that.
Well, if you'd like to go ahead and paste your username in the Facebook comments, go ahead and do so. Maybe you can find some friends on there.
Does anybody want to be my friend?
And
Didn't think so.
I'll leave that up to his discretion if he wants to post the username on YouTube as well. Once this
Uh,
goes live on YouTube.
you know what? I think I'll wait for the comments to come in, and I'm gonna do some back history here because I don't need any fangirls now
Yeah,
because that's what I'm worried about.
not with the live. All right, well, that's all we had for this week, guys. Feel free to join us next week at 7 p.m. Eastern for another episode of Jargon. And if you don't mind, I just want to take a moment here. Even if you or your friends don't necessarily like technology or the news we discuss, we do have a target audience out there somewhere, and we need to find them, to help us grow. So if you don't mind, would you please just share our videos and share our page if you can, like it, and just get the visibility out there for the people who would be interested in our content, because we are serious about this and we would like to see this show grow, and we'd like to do more things with it in the future. So any kind of support would be awesome.
Yeah, most definitely. And we hate to ask, like we don't want to have to ask. It seems kind of beggy or needy, but at the same time, we didn't ask on like the first 3 or 4 episodes, and we didn't see a whole lot of results in viewer change. and we started asking, and it has actually drastically helped. Like it's a very noticeable, significant change in the amount of people that actually tune in and watch and interact. So we
Yes. So
appreciate it.
yeah, we definitely appreciate any kind of support you can offer, even if it's just a like or a share on any of our posts. It helps us reach that target audience that we're looking for, and we'll be able to bring you better content in the future.
So, and if you ever miss one of our live streams, they're always available on Facebook,
Mhm.
given, the opportunity. I know Facebook does some screwy things sometimes with the quality, or you can always find them on our YouTube channel, Jargon Podcast. If we
That's
could,
correct.
I should have had a link prepared.
That's all right. I mean, everybody on Facebook should see all of our videos because all of them are definitely on Facebook. So if you are
Yeah.
currently on Facebook, feel free to click on videos on the Jargon Podcast page. We are at Jargon Podcast on Facebook. Just click on videos and you should be able to see an
Actually,
archive of all of our
Jargon Media.
previous.
Jargon Media.
Or what?
Jargon Media on YouTube.
Correct.
If you search Jargon Podcast, you can find us, but we're actually Jargon Media on YouTube because we're looking to branch out and do more. That's why we're asking for support.
Correct.
I got that
Well,
link
again,
though.
that is the end of our episode for today. You guys have a great rest of your weekend, and if you're watching this later in the week, rest of your week.